After the death of the Boyers, their son Antoine ceded in 1535 the château to King François or Francis I in payment of his father's large debt to the treasury. At the entrance to the château, the initial of François, the F, is clearly visible. Also his emblem, a salamander, sculpted above the main door with the inscription, Franciscus, by the grace of God, King of France, and Claude, Queen of the French. During the reign of François, France made immense cultural advances. He is considered to be the first Renaissance monarch of France. In the 15th century, revival, rebirth, or renaissance of interest in Greek and Roman culture emerged. This 19th century painting gives a romanticized depiction of the historical visit of Francois I to Roman monuments in Nîmes. Although disputed, it is generally thought that this interest in classical culture seemed to be attended with the development of modern notions of personal identity. For the first time, artists began to sign their work. One of the first well-known examples is Jan van Eyck's inscription or graffiti on the back wall above the mirror of his Arnolfini portrait. It reads, Johannes de Eyck fuit hic, meaning Jan van Eyck was here. Famous is also the signature of Michelangelo Buonarroti on the Pietà. It is visible on the band crossing the Virgin's breast to her left shoulder. The story goes that Michelangelo added the inscription because he overheard someone remark that it was the work of another sculptor. The inscription reads, Michelangelus Buonarrotus Florentinus facebat. Michelangelo Buonarroti, Florentine, made it. In the same vein, King François I signed, as it were, his buildings. In his castles, his initial and his emblem, a fire-breathing salamander, can be found everywhere. One of the most common myths about the salamander, which is found in sources dating to the ancient Greece, is that the animal cannot be consumed by fire. Aristotle even goes so far to say, the salamander not only walks through the fire, but puts it out in doing so. Inside Chenonceau, the salamander is unmistakably present on a fireplace, next to the stoat, or ermine, the emblem of his wife, Queen Claude. The entrance hall of Chenonceau is covered with a series of characteristic triangular rib folds. It is one of the most beautiful examples of decorative sculpting from the French Renaissance period. François was only moderately interested in Chenonceau and did not effect any improvements to the castle. The king was at the time engaged in the building of the Château de Chambord in the neighborhood of Chenonceau. It took 20 years to build this colossal castle with 440 rooms. However, both Chambord and Chenonceau were only used for hunts and fetes. François maintained his royal residences at Château de Blois and at Château d'Amboise. Interesting is the architectural innovation of the tower on the left, the Tour de Minimes. It is one of the two towers of the castle whose winding stairs, 200 meters long, are without steps so that the slope can be climbed by a coach pulled by horses. King François I died in 1547. After the death of his father, Henri II became the owner of Chenonceau. As a boy, he had spent 3 years in Spain as a hostage to Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, an ordeal that marked him for life, leaving him introverted and gloomy. Note the interesting item of his clothing, which was the fashion in whole of Europe. This so-called codpiece, or in French braguette, can be seen on many paintings of the 15th and 16th centuries. Here we see the Spanish crown prince with such a pouch.